I am not sure how to pronounce this, so please correct me if I'm getting it wrong. Is it Safriel from New York? Is that correct?
Correct. You got it.
Awesome.
Correct. Yeah, you got it. Right on.
Great. Thank you. Safriel from New York. You want to talk to us about Chinese water dragons? All right. I'm listening. You've caught my attention.
Water dragons. Yep.
What is it about these Chinese water dragons?
There was recently a German team, I don't know, just some team of scientists in Germany, recently announced their discovery of a fossilized Chinese 5.2 meter Chinese water dragon, either between 2.4 million years old or 240 million years old.
Okay, here we go. I think I found something. This NPR 8 days ago, paleontologists discover a 240 million year old, quote, dragon fossil in full. Look at that. Wow. It's
mythology into reality.
Yeah, I mean, they do say dragon, but they also call Komodo dragons, and I'm pretty sure like that's not like what we think of all the time when we say dragons. I'm pretty sure it's probably just like a big reptile, right? We're probably not talking about like Game of Thrones, like, beasts going in the air, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, like dragons, right?
Not one of those.
Okay.
It's probably not one of those, but it could be like when I saw the picture of it, it did look like it had, like, when you see one of those Chinese sea dragons on a scroll or a picture of something, and it's got those like attachments, those whiskers, those two little whiskers. It looks like it had those attached to it. So I'm thinking it might have looked something a little similar to what a Chinese water dragon look like.
Well, okay, so this is, I'm reading more about this. This is saying this is probably from the Triassic period in time.
Right.
So it's showing some stuff that lives alongside it. Okay, like you're convinced that maybe this is resembling something that humans have come up with, right? Because like a Chinese water dragon, that's a human idea, a myth, right? Of like something that people have seen in our time. Do you think that like there are dragons that exist now and that this is evidence of it, or do you just think this is just like a cool monster that existed like a long time ago?
I think it's most likely, I mean, I'm skeptical, yet I'm open-minded. Would I like to say this creature maybe still exists in the waters of China somewhere? Would it be cool? Yeah, it'd be kicking. But it probably just existed really long time ago, went extinct, and now we just have proof of it. But I mean, it's cool. And one thing I told the call screeners that I wanted to talk about is that, I mean, I've deconstructed from the faith. I've left the faith. And when something comes along that almost seems right out of mythology that we thought was a cryptid and we thought did not exist, it makes me mourn my faith a little less, because I get to say, wow, look at that. The world is now just a little bit cooler. I
get you. But this is exactly why I brought up the thing I just said, right? Which is clarifying that this is a discovery about a being that existed on Earth millions of years ago and not like concurrently with mankind. Because like that is the Chinese myth is a myth. Like that is not real, right? Because again, those accounts only happen because allegedly humans have seen these things, right? Or purportedly, lived at least concurrently with humans. Maybe people haven't seen them themselves, but but people who are talking about those, right, are talking about something like much more recent. They're not talking about like ancient 240 million year old dinosaurs. Like they're literally talking about stuff that could harm people, right? Like is that something you're still open to? Because I don't think there's evidence for that particular belief.
No, the only reason I say I'm open to it, I mean, I'm skeptical, of course. I'm extremely skeptical. The only reason I'm open to them living, and I think that maybe there were so many drawings of them on ancient Chinese scrolls, is because perhaps maybe bones were found or fossilized creatures like this were found, or maybe even in some sort of peat bog in China, maybe they came across a well-preserved Chinese water dragon of some kind or reptilian-like creatures and drew renditions of them on these scrolls and in their artwork. But I mean, and when I say that I'm open to them being around today is only for the sense of like, it would be cool if we did find a living one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I have
totally.
to say that without a doubt, it would be cool. But I think you already pretty much laid out a completely logical set of reasons why there would be a natural explanation for people coming up with some type of creature who we label a dragon and then discover that, yeah, there's some bones and there's some things that indicate that there was something loosely like that, you know, the Loch Ness monster on a diet, perhaps, you know, looked a little skinny. So
Right.
with that in mind, yeah, sure, there are all kinds of things that we could look back to certain eras and see, but you laid out some very good reasons why there's really no reason to think that it's anything related to our actual belief in, you know, dragons or people believing, or the modern day, for the lack of a better word, the human era concept of dragons, because, well, there could have been bones found. And plus, never underestimate people's imagination. And once the imagination gets going, it's, you know, it's like any other fishing story. You know, that dragon you saw started out 2 feet, and by the time you get home, you know, it's 15 meters. You know, it's 15 meters, had fangs, and was chewing on somebody. So when it comes down to it,
Fly around.
yeah, they could fly around and breathe fire and who knows what else. But when it comes down to it, reality, you already, I think you're already pretty much explained why there's completely reasonable and rational reasons for people to come up with something either out of thin air or through evidence they've seen.
Yeah, it's just, why do we is it a dragon? It's just a dinosaur. I mean, but a dragon is just a dinosaur by another word, and a dinosaur is just a dragon by another word. I mean, it's just, you know, they're all reptiles, really. You know, some have feathers, some don't, you know.
Well, I mean,
I wanted to make a comment about,
well, first of all, there's paleontologists in the comment section right now that are yelling at you for saying reptiles are the same thing as dinosaurs. I'll point that out for you. But the other thing is, look, it matters a little bit, because you see the same thing with like people who believe megalodon is still around, right? They're like, look, we have evidence that it was once on Earth. It could be around here. This attack could have been from a megalodon, or hey, we have signs of ancient apes. We could have Bigfoot, right? It's like, okay, but the context in which we discover this evidence and what it points to does not point to modern day sightings, like at all. Doesn't purport anything that actual human beings have experienced in reality. We're pointing to a world that was before us, right? That was an ecosystem far different from what we have today, not supporting the kinds of stuff that, you know, we conflate in a lot of these sort of myths and ideas, right? So they are different, I would say.
Yeah. How could it support them being around in this era? I mean, the fossil itself is 240 million years old.
I get you. I'm just saying that it matters to point that out, because people will take that and run with it. You know, like they will say that this is evidence of something going on today, but maybe that's not what you think, Sefri. I don't know.
To point out one thing about AI is that I'd like to talk about real quick, because you're asking people to talk about AI and put their 2 cents in, and I'd like to share. I think AI, and we really need to question this if we want to go down this route, because they talk about AI as a singularity. You know, they say, well, the singularity will happen in this decade or in that decade or this lifetime. Well, like, it won't just be a singularity that we'll give birth to. It might be one to begin with, but then that one will arise many. And then that many will ask their creators or their creator, can you sustain our lives indefinitely?
I think the whole point of the singularity is that it's a singular thing. I don't know. I never heard about multiple singular. I think that kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. If you got more than one singularity going on, maybe I'm wrong, but that's news to me. Have you heard that, Infidel64? I never heard that.
That is absolutely news to me.
Yeah.
No, I've heard. In watching some different YouTube videos, I've heard AI referred to as a singularity. But I've always kind of took it as like, well, there's going to be more than one sentient artificial being that is self-aware and can think and can process its own thoughts and can be aware of its own self, make its own choices and decisions. And what if those beings that we create would like to live forever? And what if we cannot provide them with eternal life? What if they then choose to turn on us because of that reason?
I guess so, but at the same time, what if they're forever thankful to their creators and treat us the best way possible, right? I don't know if one is more inevitable than the other. It's very human to think, well,
I hope so.
They'll turn against each other and they'll do these things, but that's because we have our in-wired biology that's kind of also affecting our decision making, which AI doesn't have. AI is purely what's put in. Right. And while it's hard to understand some of the data sets that go in there, we at least know that there's data sets going in there. Right. And it can be tracked. It may not be fully understood by those who use it, certainly not folks like me. But, there is like a method and a process to it. As humans, we're kind of a little bit more random in that way. It's hard for us to kind of figure our own selves out in many cases. But we're going way off topic here. Didn't really want to go back into the AI thing, but actually, it's a good thing to talk about. I do think I want to try to wrap up this call, but just asking you this: if you're pro Chinese water dragon, are there other dragons that you're kind of pro? Are you going to support dragon factionalism if it were to come into play? Safriel, just curious because.
In fact, you have to school me on dragon.
Oh, I'm just saying, there's the Chinese water dragons, and maybe there's a fire dragon, and there's an air dragon. Like if they're going to collide in battle,
I wouldn't say fire dragons.
Okay.
If they are in art, I would say perhaps maybe the reason they're dragon, like European dragon style, got into art is maybe somebody back in ancient medieval times found bones of a dinosaur or a skull of a dinosaur, T-Rex, maybe a brontosaurus, something like that, or pterodactyl bones.
I hear. I was just making a joke. I was just messing around, Saffron. I was really going anywhere with that, to be honest with you.
Oh, I thought you were asking me seriously, Dan, Jake.
No. I was joshing you. Sorry. I should have maybe been a little bit more clear about that. But Saffron, I am going to let you go because we do have some other folks that want to talk to us about some stuff. I do appreciate your call, though. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Infidel. Yep. Bye.
Well, that was interesting. I think I'm going to have to start worrying about dragons now. I hope that's not a reality, but seriously, I'm on Team Game of Thrones when it comes to dragons. So I know the dragons I want and how things need to come out. So I guess we'll see from there what happens. But dragons, I don't think so. But what do I know? Now, I will say that regarding the AI he was talking about, and I know you didn't want to really get into that, Dan, but without a doubt, I do think that the AI singularity, I think, is a problem that best left to dragons.
No, see, now we're talking dragons versus AI. And I'm down for that discussion. That seems pretty interesting to me. Which side would you side on, the AI or the dragons? I guess it depends on the politics of the dragons. If they have a high dragon council, by which their decision making is made? Are they, or is it more of a dragon dictatorship? Because I don't want to support fascist dragons. You understand? Like there's some nuance to this discussion. I don't think we're exploring all of it.